Hello everyone. So for today's card, I'm using Stamping Bella's Uptown Girl Paisley Has a Prezi image, which is one of my favorite Uptown Girls, and I'm inking it up with MFT's Black Licorice Hybrid ink and stamping it onto some CC Designs Copic Quality 110-pound cardstock. Not worrying about the bottom part of the image because I'm going to die cut this. I'm using MFT's Pierced Rectangle Stacks Dynamics. I'm using the largest one. And yes, Caitlin's right behind me, so she is making her presence known throughout this video. So I taped the die into place and then ran it through my die cut machine before I start coloring it in with my Copic markers. And I've been saying it lots and lots lately. It's something I have been trying to practice, is especially with these images, you do not have to be perfect. I kind of just shake my head with how difficult it has been for me with my OCD to always have to stay in the lines and the coloring has to be perfect. And I still get comments from people like, oh, I can't believe you can color these fine little images and you don't go outside the lines. Well, I do. If you take a close look at the pictures at the end or on my blog, you can't tell as much on the video, but on my blog you can actually see the pictures and click for a close-up and that. I don't color these perfectly. I actually, now that I'm doing it more and more, I really like the imperfectness of it. It really works, and then I don't have to spend like 2 hours coloring an image. And yeah, they're just cards. Have fun with it, experiment. So I did her skin first. I just used E21 and E13, and then for her hair I'm using E97, 99, and then E09 is my darkest, and trying to use a really light touch with that just to keep a little bit of white areas in there to kind of make her hair give it some dimension and make it look like it's got some highlights going on. So once I was done with that, for her dress, I'm using RV 52 and 55 first. And this especially is where this part of her dress, her top, is like all of these tiny, tiny little lines. It would take forever if you wanted to color this perfectly. And I think it looks 1,000 times better if you just put some color on it. So it actually looks really cute just with this RV 52 when I'm done here. I should have just left it just like that. I think it looks perfect, but I wanted to add some more color. So I went in with RV 55, which is just a little bit darker, just to add a little bit more depth to it. So just quickly went over parts of the area that I had already colored with the RV 52. So again, really quick and easy, not worrying too much about staying in the lines at all. And then scribbling it all along the bottom there, mostly on the bottom, just to give her dress some more frills. I'm not worried at all about blending any of this. Yeah, these colors are so close, they somewhat blend themselves, but I also didn't want a perfectly blended look. I liked the definition. And then I wanted some orange to add because I'm kind of going along with some pattern paper I'm going to use on this card. So I'm using YR12 and YR14. So started with a 12 and just filled in all the areas on her shirt that I didn't already color with the pink. And then adding YR14 for the little ruffles, and again, a little bit more depth to it. Super, super simple. So once I get that done, I'm going to color in the present, and again, kind of matching the pattern paper. So I'm using BG53 and then adding a little bit of BG57. And then for the yellow, I'm using Y23 and Y35, which are really close together and don't really show much. I had meant to use Y32, but I must have had a little bit of a dyslexic moment and grabbed Y23 instead, but they work. So once I was done with that, I decided I wanted to add some color around the image, and I haven't done this in a long time, but I started with BG000, and you just start along the edges of the image and you flick the color away from it so that you've got the most color closest to the image, and then you want it to fade out to white. So I started with the BG000, and then I took my BG000, which is a lot lighter, and did the same thing just to kind of start blending it out and fading it out a little bit more. Really, really easy to do, and you can turn the image if you find that when you're flicking the color, it works better, in one direction. I always find it actually works better flicking away from me than towards me. I don't know why, I just seem to get better results. But I didn't bother turning the image because I was going to blend it all out. So once I was done with that, I just took my colorless blender, and this time going towards the image, I applied it really, really heavily to make it fade out completely so that it just fades out nicely and smoothly. So I went over that quite a bit just to really get it to fade out so that there's no lines. So really, really easy. And then, of course, I can't leave this just as is. So I turned on my overhead lights and I'm using my clear Wink of Stella and coated the bottom of her dress and the gift and her shirt and even a bit in her hair just to give it some subtle sparkle. I like how it just almost seems to intensify the Copic too. So really, really pretty. And then for the layout, I'm using the Doodlebug Sugar Shop pattern paper, which I showed in a recent haul, and I die cut the largest piece with my largest die from MFT's Blueprints 2 stack, which you guys see in like every video because I use it all the time. And then I matted the main image here with some Razzleberry cardstock just to give it a little bit of a frame. And the layout is part of this week's Bellarific Friday challenge, so that's also why I stamped the image where I did and everything else, because I had this all planned out, like how the layout would go, and there was all these banners along the left-hand corner. So I used MFT's Banner Day dies, and I decided to cut off that top little piece off of all of them just to make them a little bit smaller, and then laid them out how I wanted them. And then I'd adhered them all into place with just my Tombow Monomalti. So really quick and simple. And then I didn't want to just leave the banners just hanging there with nothing to kind of anchor them. So I'm going to use some Doodlebug Doodle Twine, some other pink twine. And to adhere that into place, I'm just using a little bit of Ranger's Multi-Medium Matte. So really thin line just along the top of the banners. You don't want to add too much because it'll just get goopy. But the nice thing about this is if it does kind of ooze out on either side of the twine, you're not going to see it when it dries because it dries matte. But apply a really small amount of that and then press the doodle twine into place and then just leave it. I left it for about 5-10 minutes maybe until it was completely dry, and then it's adhered into place and it's not going to go anywhere. So then I could flip this over and just trim off the ends that were hanging over. And then I tied 2 little bows with the same twine and then applied a good little dollop of the Ranger Multi-Medium Matte on either end of this banner here. And press those into place, and then this, again, you just press into place, walk away, and leave it. Once it's completely dry, these are not going anywhere. So I left this for, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. I went and did dishes. So once it was completely dry, trimmed off the ends, and then I'm going to adhere this to my card base, which is, again, the CC Designs Copic Quality 110-pound cardstock, and standard A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then to finish the inside, I'm using my Memento Angel Pink ink and inking up the girl again and stamping her onto the inside of the card. And then the sentiment, I'm going to use my stamp positioner so I make sure that I get it straight. So I'll get that on an acrylic block, get out my stamp positioner, and then I'm just inking it up with the same My Favorite Things Black Licorice Hybrid ink. And then getting that lined up along the bottom corner of the card here. So once that's done, I'm going to get that stamped. And then I had a bunch of little banners left over from die cutting the ones for the front. So I just did the same thing and trimmed all the tops off to make them a little bit smaller and kind of laid them out how I was going to have them on the inside of the card. And this time I started with the top banner and trimmed off a little bit because you can't have it hanging over the spine of the card, otherwise the card's not going to shut properly. So just trimmed off the little corner and then just started laying them all out and adhering them with the Tombow Monomalti. And then when I get to the end of this one, the one that's hanging over, I could just flip the card over and trim that off with scissors, and it's all done. So that is it for today. As always, there will be a link below my video to my blog post, and then also links to all the supplies used. So if you're interested in that, check out all those links below in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping my videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye!